Hey, this is Kevin, and this is the Red River TV podcast. Back at it again, and we have Miles one more time. I
guess now I'm a recurring guest.
Yes, a
I'm so
reoccurring
honored.
guest. Yes. So to all the other people that wanted to be reoccurring guests, I'm sorry.
Well, it'd be recurring, not reoccurring.
Yeah, we it's just proximity. That's really what it is. He tends to be here when I need content. So that's kind of how this thing.
It's like whenever before this podcast got started, he was setting up the equipment. So you're going to stay on for a podcast?
Yeah.
Can you stay around?
Exactly. Yes, that's how it always goes. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about, well, the first thing we're going to talk about is the successful petition drive from Unite Norman. So if you guys don't know, we interviewed Unite Norman, Sasan, and Russell. And it was a really good interview, and that came out on Monday, and they ended up turning in all their petition drive numbers, and they got enough to recall the mayor and a few other people.
Yeah, a few council members, but I don't think you're giving yourself enough praise, because I think the impact of your interview with them had a phenomenal impact to the signatures, because if you remember, whenever we met with them and did the interview, there were only 17,000 signatures, and in the last 4-day push, they got an additional 4,000 signatures to push them over the limit needed. I think they ended up with 21.5 amount.
Yeah, they had way more than they needed when it was all said and done. And I was a little concerned about it, because I knew that, they didn't get every city council person. I think they got all of them except for the one they were trying to get. I think they might have missed like one or two, but I knew it was absolutely paramount that they got the mayor, because that was definitely going to be able to send a message. That was going to be the headline right there. And now you can see that I think it was Bria, that's the name of the mayor. I think Bria Clarkson or something like that.
I'm not sure. Anyway, I think Bria's the name.
Bria. She's coming out saying now, I was never against. I was never with defunding the police. This wasn't about that.
Well, the interesting thing was the article I read, actually on Fox News, believe it or not, had an article about the recall and how the city clerk is refusing comment up until the time the votes are all tallied and verified. And so that just makes me think, but do you not have a comment generally about it? Or, are you going in there looking for, signatures that aren't voters, maliciously?
Oh, they're going to be looking through that with a fine-tooth comb.
Oh yeah.
You best believe they're going to lock the door, and they're going to go through every single name, and they're going to try to figure out, okay, where can we shave this
Where
away?
Can we disqualify this signature?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, that really just dovetails nicely with mail-in voting. I mean, think about mail-in voting. You have a situation where you have these boxes of mail-in voting, forms come in the mail, and they ended up disqualifying like tens of thousands in the race in New Jersey a couple weeks ago, and that's what the president was talking about. And they actually caught a couple guys cheating, and they actually got there. They were convicted.
There have been convictions all over the United States for mail-in voter fraud, and specifically with some of the states. Colorado was mailing out ballots, and the envelopes were color-coded as to the political affiliation. Now, I'm not a genius, but if you want voter fraud, but switching gears a little, to Millie Weaver, the InfoWars journalist, was arrested last Thursday.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the documentary, it's like, I thought to myself, okay, if I'll spend an hour watching this documentary.
I didn't watch it.
Well, they brought up a very intriguing point about data, and just, the ability for fraud on, for any malicious actor, whether it be a multimillionaire, some Joe Schmuckatelli down the street wanting to collect, certain color-coded envelopes, was that our involvement in government matters in a very, very big way, because the people involved, not only for elections, but for our judicial services, for jury pools, is one of the accusations made in that documentary, was that the some of the circuit courts are now pulled whenever they get a pool of jurors to select from is that some of them will use data and analytics, like they did in the Roger Stone case, to ensure that a guilty verdict comes out.
Wow.
And Roger Stone, they
Hmm.
cited in an interview, and he had mentioned, statistically, I should have had more than one veteran. Statistically, I should have had more than one person without a college degree.
Especially when you're talking about a place like, was it Florida?
DC,
Oh, the case was actually in DC.
I believe so.
I thought the case was in Florida. But
No,
okay.
but that's incredible. And so getting involved in our government matters and what Unite Norman did to tie it back to that is incredible. And
Yeah.
if we look away from, the what's going on in front of us, is then we'll be looking at in the rearview mirror thinking, okay, what just happened?
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately what happened with what caused Unite Norman to come.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a really good example of that. We have the levers there. All the levers are there for us to do the things we want to do with government.
We
We
can't
just have
just
to
depend
access
on
them.
other people to
No,
do it. It's
no,
each individual voice matters.
there's no one riding in on a white horse that's going to come save us. You are the person that's going to save you from your predicaments, whether it be in your life or whether it be politically.
It's like I told my junior sailors is, the only advocate for your naval career is you. Is whatever you want, you can get, but it's got to be
Yeah.
your actions that,
Yeah.
make it happen.
Okay, so moving on to the next topic, and we're going to be talking about the DNC convention. So they're going to be having a virtual convention. It's supposed to be in Milwaukee. They're saying Milwaukee, but when you call
It's
it
virtual.
yeah, so it's like not Milwaukee.
So
it's
what,
like on the internet.
All the 123 people that showed up inside the gym in Delaware to be at the vice president announcement are going to be watching it virtually now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Because a lot of times the candidates, they do get a boost out of the convention, and they do get a lot of positive press coverage. I think this year it kind of takes away, because I think both the candidates, people will, a lot of people admit, of course, Trump is really good in person. He draws huge crowds, and Joe Biden's been known throughout his career as a very good retail politician. He's good in person, or at least he used to be. So both of these individuals will be having to do things a little more virtual, probably not Trump so much. Anyway, you got something to add to that?
Well, I think you're going to be able to see after the conventions are held and look back historically as to those bumps that individuals got from these conventions. How many of those bumps rather were generated by the media, by the narrative?
Yeah.
And President Trump says MSDNC. I mean, he is 100% right. There's not journalism that happens on these channels, but I think that a lot of it is going to be seen as generated.
And how much of a turnoff is it going to be to have guys like John Kasich speaking, because he's going to be speaking
I'm
at
hoping
the DNC.
Tulsi Gabbard shows up to the RNC.
Oh, they're not going to let her go within 10 feet of that.
She's
already knifed down Kamala once.
If I'm not mistaken, they're actively in talks with her.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, and so and don't take that with a grain of salt, as I heard that through a source, but that would be incredible.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. So they're going to have it's all going to be virtual. So essentially, you're going to have Obama doing a live stream, and then you're going to have all these other political people, and of course, all the stars in Hollywood and our betters.
But you got to appreciate our glorious President Trump just trolling the DNC by giving a speech the day before it starts right in Milwaukee.
So I think it used to be customary that the opponent usually wouldn't do like overt political things, essentially like before. But I think right now
I don't think President Trump is customary.
No, I don't think he got the news because, well, this is we're talking about customary here. When they say customary, they mean Republicans do it and Democrats don't have to do it, because this is the same party that is actively running on locking up the president, going after people, their political opponents, when they get into elected office. And that's something that Republicans
think about the irony during the 2016 election is lock her up when all the chance. And they were actively trying to lock him up.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to end up. I mean, if Trump loses, you got to think this guy, he's not just fighting for the American people. He's not just fighting for, the American economy and the American way. He's also fighting for his freedom, because you got to think, if he were to lose, this is going to be really bad for him and his family. They're going to chase him down to the ends of the earth.
Well, I mean, you did just like the AG in New York and said that we want to, or was it the DA in New York City that
Yeah, I
said
think
that
it
they
was the
wanted
DA.
to, investigate Trump, regardless of if they had an underlying cause. But think of
So
Mellon.
just searching for a crime,
Yeah.
essentially, is what they're going to do.
But the mail-in voting argument, the United States Postal Service, I mean, the United States Postal Service has been, losing money since
Forever.
I can't remember, before I was born.
It's like Amtrak,
And
same thing.
and
Lose money
the
every
reality
year.
is, how long would it take to count all of these votes? And there was an argument of a video I saw that raised the peculiar question of the constitutional stance on how it would turn if January 20th we hadn't had a called election. I mean, the president and vice president would step down, but in terms of succession, it would go to, the Speaker of the House. But then, if I'm not mistaken, Nancy Pelosi would have already been relieved from her speakership, and she would have had been voted again
Yeah.
with the new Congress. But, then the president pro tempore is Senator Chuck Grassley. And it just makes me think, okay, what kind of carnival could be done if on January 20th we had an uncalled election?
Oh, it's going to be, it'll be.
It'd be like the NSAIG
I don't-
saying, I'm not stepping down. I'm presidential appointee.
I don't think we would even get to that point. I think if you had a situation by December, by even mid-December, you still didn't have the numbers come in. I think we would go into a situation where America would be on the brink. I really think that would be. I also see unconstitutional things happen, and I wouldn't put it past the Supreme Court jumping in and throwing down some unconstitutional rulings and probably giving it to a Joe Biden presidency.
Well, just think of this. If the Supreme Court got involved, is the lawsuits that would happen would all be focused back on Marbury versus Madison.
Yeah.
And it would be a peculiar situation for the Supreme Court to say, well, how much authority do we have?
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to, yeah. So that scenario.
So scary precipice to think about.
It's definitely, especially when you have municipalities and you have states marking these different envelopes, these mail-in envelopes. I mean, I saw one on Twitter where they had the barcodes on the back to scan in the mailing, and they had one of the designations was /R or /D. So if you wanted to, you could just go through the one /R and just toss it out.
I received in the mail day before yesterday a check from the Department of Defense. It was from the Department of Treasury, the actual check, but it was for my reservist time, and it's a windowed envelope, and it says "Pay to the order of Miles Rainey." And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, because someone's not going to steal that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't view this as like a traditional. This isn't going to be a traditional.
It's always the biggest election of our time.
Yeah, and this one, I would say in some respects it is, but it's not going to have the same gravitas because people aren't going to be. Well, I think Trump will probably try to find ways to where he can still meet, and I think that'll force the Democrats to come out. And this whole bunker thing, I mean, look at it like this. A few weeks ago, they had the freaking race called for Joe Biden off these fake polls. And now the fake polls are showing that it's tightening back up again. So he's already dropped like 10 points just in the past couple of weeks from what? Nothing really happened for the most part. And you have polls that are questionable at best.
Yeah, it was, I heard the argument for the best type of debate that President Trump could give is just to, within the first few minutes, make some really significant points, and then later on in the debate is call back to those points because Joe Biden will have forgotten those points.
Oh yeah,
it's like saying, "All right, Blue Cat Ridge therapy. All right, repeat those words back to me."
Well, I know. And the thing is, another bad thing is like I don't view these as good things because they're talking about this is going to be a Zoom debate.
I'm sorry, but the debate isn't between the president and Joe Biden. It's between the president and Joe Biden's successor.
Yeah,
exactly. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
The most non-racist way to say it.
Is remember the what was it? The Washington Post was saying what was the title? First Indian America elected to AG in California history,
Yeah.
and now first,
Yeah.
come
Well,
on.
that tells you who Kamala Harris is. She's whoever she has to be in the moment.
No,
And
she's a shapeshifter.
well, the thing about Kamala Harris, a lot of people don't understand, is that she's never really had a political fight as far as a political race. Every race she's had has been pretty easy for her. She's only had one real race where she faced somebody who it was a tough political fight, and that was a DA race she had when she was running for I forgot what city that was in.
San Francisco?
It was like Alameda or something.
Oh, well, okay.
DA. But
Yeah.
anyway, that was the only real race she's ever had.
After Willie Brown.
Kamala is really good when she's prepared and everything is structured and everything is good. She's as good as any politician you will ever see. But off the cuff, when that's kind of politics.
Well, I mean, look at Kendra Horn in our own local.
Yeah,
is like
off the cuff, she's horrible.
Well, yeah, and if you look at the prepared ads, it's like I'd be someone to vote for her if she's that moderate.
She's got all these supposed Republicans coming out.
Lifelong Republicans.
I'm a lifelong Republican.
Yeah, sure you are, Karen.
And this is the thing that doesn't make sense with the Kendra Horn ads, is that they'll be on there and they're essentially saying, look, she's just like a Republican. She fights all the Democrats too. So why would I pick a Democrat to fight the other Democrats? Why don't I just get a Republican to fight the Democrats? That doesn't
I never had
so
they're
making the argument that pick Kendra Horn, she fights the Democrats, when we have a Republican running that will fight the Democrats even better than she will.
Yeah.
She's making the case against her own campaign. But I see the point, because she really doesn't have a choice. I mean, she's running in a plus whatever.
R plus 12 in 2018 whenever she won. So, but it's about voter turnout. And then because it's a referendum on President Trump, is you have all these 18 to 24-year-olds that were disenfranchised for the last 4 years of President Trump's campaign and presidency saying, oh, well, orange man bad. And so they look at this and
absolutely.
Yeah, it's
pretty ridiculous.
Unfortunate, but media bias is media bias.
Yep. Well, anyway, guys, this was pretty much it. Hopefully we'll do this again. Well, actually, we will be doing this again. We'll be doing this in a lot of different ways. So many unbelievable ways you wouldn't believe.
Gonna be huge. Believe me.
So, we'll be bringing in a lot more guests, and some of you guys know who you are. We will be getting this podcast back together again, but this is pretty much it. So if you have time, guys, tomorrow or whenever this goes out, try to watch some of these the Milwaukee convention. Try to check it out and see what these Democrats are talking about, because a lot of the things they're proposing are things they're going to be talking about. A lot of things that will affect your life if Joe Biden were to win. A lot of the things they're going to be talking about the next couple of days of their convention are things that are going to affect your pocketbook. They're going to affect your family. They're going to affect your church. They're going to affect your faith.
I just want to say something real quick. You said affecting our pocketbook. The Congressional Budget Office says now, with $27 trillion in debt right now, is by 2028, our entire budget will be paying the interest.
Jesus. Wow. Yeah, we're not ever going to pay that back, but we'll
many years.
We can get into that some other time. Well, anyway, until next time, guys, peace.